This program on investing under regulation crowdfunding is not investment advice.
Rising with the crowd, power unbound, change makers lead where hope is found. Superpowers for good, shaping the fate. Investors and dreamers open the gate. Supercross stands loud, proud and true, building tomorrow for me and you.
Welcome, everyone, to the Superpowers for Good show from the Super Crowd. Have you ever wondered if crowdfunding couldn't be made just a little bit easier? Today, we're talking to some people who are making it easier across borders. This is exciting stuff. I'm really excited to introduce you to some great people. Before that, I do want to welcome all of you. We welcome you as the Super Crowd to the show. We have amazing guests today, and these guys are really making a difference in the world, and it's exciting. They've got a new collaboration, and we're going to be talking about that. So stick around today. So today I have with us Cameron Neal of LendForGood and Peter Rostovsky of Raiseway. Cameron, why don't you take a minute and walk us through the new collaboration that you two have developed?
Hi, Devin. Welcome and great to speak to you all today. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about what Peter and I and our organizations are working on. Lend4Good, I've been on the show before. Thanks, Devin. We're a global impact debt syndication platform. And I guess, one of the things that we've come to understand as a platform that hosts impact campaigns from courageous impact enterprises is not everyone is as equipped to run effective crowdfunding campaigns as others. So I was really excited when I learned about Raiseway, which is tackling that very problem of how to run effective crowdfunding campaigns, everything from conceptualizing how to start, which platform to choose, all the way through to, executing your campaign and post investor relations. And so what we see is that we can equip the courageous impact enterprises that use our platform to raise money from the crowd with tools that are going to help them be more effective. And that's fundamentally, what Raiseway and Lend4Good's new collaboration is about.
Hey, Supercrowd, can you imagine a better way to be able to do a crowdfunding campaign? It can be so much work to do it right, to do it well, to raise a lot of money is a lot of work. Being able to have some tools to help you with that, very exciting. This is a big deal, and I'm excited to see this roll out. Peter, tell us a little bit about how Raiseway will streamline the process at Lend4Good.
Sure. Thank you, David. I think Cam said most of it, but I guess the main point is that there's so many elements to a crowdfunding campaign, from writing the copy to scheduling the post to go out on your social media pages to managing all the people who may have committed money to give you money, and now you have to follow up with them, and you have to do all of these things all at once. And this is super challenging, even for large organizations that are trying to raise millions of dollars, and they have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the budget for a crowdfunding campaign. But this is borderline impossible. Clearly not impossible, given that Lend4Good has raised tons of money for really great businesses. But it is challenging. It is hard. And solving all of these elements of the raise, allowing the people on the team and people from the funding portal that is working with the business to collaborate, is really the purpose of Raiseway. We want to be that platform that supports the campaign throughout the process. And I'm just endlessly excited to work with Lend4Good, because our team has been really yearning to work with people that are specifically focused on impact, specifically focused on supporting businesses that are bringing net positiveness to this world. And so we are all super motivated by this collaboration. Thank you very much, Cam and Devin. Thank you again for having us here.
Yeah. Hey, Supercrowd, as you think about this, one of the exciting things is the international nature of this. So I'm going to ask Cam now to take a minute and talk about the how people from around the world, not just in Australia where you're based, can use Lend for Good both as a place to raise capital and as a place to lend capital.
Yeah, Devin, I think the reality is that the challenges that we're dealing with in our communities and around the world are global in nature. They're not really respectful of nation state borders, right? So when we started Lend for Good, what we wanted to do was to connect a global community of lenders and borrowers to each other. So what Lend for Good does is on the borrower side, we have these amazing intermediary organizations that are accelerators, incubators, um, entrepreneur support organizations, venture studios that have relationships with these amazing, courageous impact enterprises. That could be in Africa, could be in Asia, could Latin America, but equally can be in the US, Australia, and Europe. And they use our platform to basically tell you about what they're doing, the impact they want to create, how much money they need, what the terms are. And then on the other side, we have lenders from, again, all around the world that log into our portal and see what's available. And then they pledge particular commitments to say, well, you're looking for, it's like a Kiva-esque thing. I'm looking for $50,000. Oh, I will contribute $5,000 towards that, or $500 towards that. And then what Lend for Good does is takes care of kind of all the contracting and money movement that's necessary to get the borrower the money and to get you as the lender your money back with the interest that's being offered, on the repayment terms. So we deliberately set out at the beginning to say, how do we build a piece of global infrastructure here? And how do we collaborate globally? People are highly mobile. And one of the things that we've seen is, someone who's in Australia as a lender has spent time in a city in Nepal where there's now a borrower, right? And they're like, hey, I really want to support that. I've been there. I spent 8 years living there. I really want to connect with that enterprise and stuff. And so, I think our connections these days are global. The issues are global. We've started as a global first approach.
And that is just wonderful. Because, like you say, these problems don't respect international borders. The reality is they are where they are. And it's wonderful to be able to invest from the United States in a project that serves, say, Cambodia. And I see, a great project like that on Lend for Good today as we're recording this. Peter, a lot of the, sort of where you came from was thinking about regulation crowdfunding in the United States. How are you adapting your thinking, your model, your approach to a more international, kind of universal crowdfunding approach for the Raiseway app?
Yeah, so when I was entering this industry for a long time, I was really thinking about we wanted debt crowdfunding to scale because we felt that equity crowdfunding is not appropriate for small businesses. We really wanted to serve small businesses. We felt that an engineer building a new startup, if the startup fails, they don't raise venture money or equity crowdfunding money. Well, ultimately they themselves will be okay. But a business that is a small business that raises money and that needs money, rather needs capital, and is being shunned by banks or being offered predatory loans by merchant cash advance companies. If that business fails and shuts down, that is a hit on that entire community that is around that business. And even that person that's running that business and the people working in that business may never recover. And so we wanted to support them, and felt that lending is really the instrument that we should popularize. The crowd lending tools is what needs to happen. And then we looked at the United States data, and for the 10.2 million small businesses in 2022 that applied for any sort of capital access, there were 333 small businesses that submitted paperwork for debt crowdfunding. And the gap was enormous, right? It's 0.003% of the market. And so we figured that, well, I guess we need to step away from that, right? I guess we need to guide people through rewards crowdfunding into investment crowdfunding in order to popularize this. Now, when I met Cam and learned about the Lend for Good model, that, like, I mean, I've never seen a portal like this, right? This is the only portal that I know of that can support international fundraising, crowd lending like this, through a very innovative and I think very honest and fair syndication model. And so this really opens up possibilities. Like I still I don't think I've thought it through that, like, just the scale of impact that our two companies can have working together, because the Lend for Good model does really truly allow scaling internationally, and hopefully we'll be able to support that. So
Yeah. You know,
yeah.
the capital being invested around the world in social impact projects, including those that ultimately have embedded profits at various stages, whether you're talking about vaccines being produced for billions of doses, or food for people who can't afford it themselves, like the Cambodia project that's on there. You got all these different things. The potential is in really approaches the trillions of dollars, doesn't it? Peter, or excuse me, Cameron, why don't you give us a sense of the potential economic marketplace that you're participating in? Give us a sense of where this can go potentially.
Well, I think, one of the things that's connected Peter and myself, philosophically, behind the enterprises that we're running at Lend for Good and Raiseway is that, this problem is significant. Like what Peter was talking about that he saw in the US, like that problem is in Australia, that problem is worldwide. Like the gap for small business capital access is significant. The numbers that we know that are kind of put out of the UN and other kind of studies saying, the SME financing gap globally is like, 5 trillion US dollars per annum. Like that's largely looking at emerging markets, not including, the US and Australia. And I think if you add those in, it's significant. The challenge though is that it's growing. Like it's not getting smaller. What we're seeing as banks are consolidating, we just learned about in one of the Asian countries, they went from 67 banks to 5, right, through a whole bunch of mergers. They're now, like, for them chasing the kind of commercial things that they need to do, they're even less interested now in a $25,000 loan than they were, 3 years ago. You're not need to be 250 plus. So what we see is that the way kind of financial markets are evolving, maturing in that sense, and coming and pursuing more efficiency, more profits, that's actually leaving even more of a gap for how small businesses, micro, small, medium-sized enterprises, not just in emerging markets, but in the US, in Australia, in all developed markets as well, it's harder. There are fintechs here that are in Australia that are trying to like fill some of that gap. But again, I think there's a lot of it falls into what Peter described, where you just create opportunities for predatory lending activity. And, and it's a real growing problem. And I think that's what's really motivating Lend for Good and Raiseway to say, not only is this trillions, it's getting bigger. And how do we address that together?
Yeah.
I would add to that, if I may. Not only is there a consolidation, but there's also regulatory capture after consolidation, right? So the banks are, you deregulate a market, a bunch of banks, like a big bank starts buying up smaller banks. And then after buying up a huge share of the market, they go to the regulators and they say, well, all the rest of the small banks, their practices are not really safe. So you should really increase reporting standards for them. And that pushes out the small banks out of the business. Now, as Cam said, okay, now you have a huge bank. You've accumulated all these portfolios of these smaller banks. You're not interested in the smaller loans. So that pushes people, as again, I'm just repeating Cam's point,
Yeah.
pushes people into subpar lending options, and crowdfunding becomes really the only high quality capital left. And even if this wasn't happening, crowdfunding still would have been a far better source of capital because your community is never going to foreclose you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be there to support you, to help you figure out the problem, solve it. Yeah. This is fantastic. Well, Peter, Cam, we got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Hey, Super Crowd, we are so fortunate today. What great guests! Cameron Neal of LendForGood in Australia, and we've got Peter Rostovsky of Raiseway collaborating to make crowdfunding easier and really with a focus on amazing social impact as well. This is just great stuff. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk to Peter and Cameron about their superpowers. So stick around.
Download a free copy of How to Make Money with Impact Crowdfunding. The book Sarah Hanks describes as
a fantastic overview, not just of crowdfunding investing, but of investing in general.
Andrew Savickas raved,
"This book offers unparalleled insights for anyone looking to make a difference."
Scan the QR code to get your copy. SuperCrowd 25, where innovation meets impact.
18 hours of live content, 5 platforms, 1 global audience.
Join the largest event for regulated investment crowdfunding. Live pitches, expert panels, real change.
August 21st and 22nd.
Scan the code or visit thesupercrowd25.com to register free today.
Struggling to raise capital for your business? Unlock the power of the crowd with AI. My free guide, Crowdfunding Made Simple, walks you through every step to success. Get funded smarter, faster. Scan the QR code now for your free download.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm so excited to tell you more and give you more opportunity, more access to Cameron Neal of LendForGood and Peter Rostovsky of Raiseway. It's just such a great conversation we had. We talked about their business, their incredible collaboration, what they're doing to change the world, make crowdfunding easier, and drive more impact around the globe. Now, we're going to shift gears to talk to these amazing entrepreneurs about their superpowers. So stick around. You guys are just doing some really amazing stuff, and I just couldn't be more excited. Peter, let me start with you. What is your superpower?
Devin, I was thinking about this question, and what comes to mind is that for a long time I was really afraid of speaking my mind on certain issues on LinkedIn primarily. And I think really something drastic really changed. I'm sorry to say this. I know that's not what the program is about, but something changed for me in the aftermath of October 7th. I started being far more open and I think forward on LinkedIn about my views on the outcomes of Israel's policy in Gaza and about what I consider to be genocide that is happening. And what changed is that, we became completely unpalatable for venture investors. No venture investor will ever touch Raiseway because of the things that I've been saying. But at the same time, the community of people that I've built around myself and that have been supporting the work that Raiseway does, and that allowed us to recruit so many great people in our team, and to a lot of people who reached out and said, thank you for saying things you're saying. This allows me. I'm okay saying this because I'm a Jew with family in Israel, so I'm protected from that flack. But that I don't want to pat myself on the back too much here. But finding the courage to say this is what I think I would.
Yeah, I think that courage that you demonstrate is something we all envy a little bit. Super Crowd, I think you feel that, right? You'd like to be able to say all the things you want to say sometimes. Cameron, what's your superpower?
I think this collaboration is a good example. I think what I have found an ability to do over my career is identify opportunities to collaborate and work with people and to build, to build collaborative initiatives, to build posses of whether it's a team to work on something or a group of people to come together to put on a conference together or a network to form. That kind of human side of building new things, of how you kind of connect people, bring people together, inspire people. That's kind of, I guess, where I've seen a lot of my success come from with the organizations I've been involved in. And, I think this is an example. Like, Peter and I connected and we took it somewhere. Like, we went, okay, how do we bring our organizations on this journey? How do we bring others on this journey? And it's that, I guess, bias to collaboration, that bias to kind of building connection with integrity. I think what you're talking about, Peter, there is having integrity and being, the courage of your convictions. And building those kind of networks and collaborations is kind of what I consider my superpower.
That's brilliant. Hey, Supercrowd, wouldn't you like to be able to combine these superpowers, take courage and layer that on with that human ability to connect and build? Really just infinitely powerful combined. Peter, give us a tip for finding the courage to use our voices for good.
Find people like Cam and like Devin. Find people that in whose company you're not afraid to say what you believe. That's really the crucial part. You alone, we don't survive alone. So find your community and look for them.
That's a great tip. Cam, give us a tip for how we can build community, connect with people more effectively.
It's a really good question. I think what I would say works for me is that I have in mind a future state, like a thing that I'd like to see happen, right? And as Peter said, I know that I cannot achieve that future state on my own. So what I need to do is I need to find people who have some sense of that. And so finding communities, finding individuals that share your idea for a future state or a thing that you want to see created, be it an event, be it I want to put on a play, like whatever. Like, you cannot do these things. Like, you need to find other people that connect with you on what it is that thing that you share an objective with to build together. And so I think it is, in part, it stems from you yourself knowing first what it is that you want to achieve and knowing you can't do it on your own, and then finding people, building a tribe, building a posse of people around you that share in that ambition. Like, if you're starting a band, you got to find people that are going to play with you, right? Like, and that you want to turn up with every day to play alongside of. It's similar. Like, you've got to find people that A, do something that you don't do, B, make your life easier, that you can't get there without them, and yet you enjoy being around. Like, I think that's really important as well.
Yeah.
If you don't enjoy being around them, it's probably a non-starter, right? But, I think it does start from within first. You got to know what you're there for.
Yeah, great tips. Peter, how can people learn more about Raiseway, follow it, connect with you? What's the best way? Quickly,
Sure.
just 30 seconds.
LinkedIn, Peter Rostovsky. Just follow me there. Shoot me a quick message. I respond to folks. It doesn't have to be formal. We are still we are completely redoing our platform. So we are planning to do our own rewards crowdfunding campaign, during which you will be able to buy a set of accesses. And when we go live, you can give it to your friends for both rewards and investment crowdfunding. We'd love your support. So if you can find me there and shoot me a message, I'll let you know how to do that.
Cam, how can people learn more and engage and actually lend maybe at Lend for Good?
Just jump onto LendForGood.io. That's the best place to start. Through that, you can learn more about the courageous impact enterprises that we've already supported. We've got a live campaign on there now. We have events all the time. We've got a public events calendar you'll find at LendForGood.io where you can come along and meet us. Connect with us on LinkedIn as well. We're very active there. We've got a LinkedIn newsletter we put out monthly. But yeah, I think go to our website, hook up with us on LinkedIn, and yeah, get involved. We welcome everyone, and this is only a movement that we can build together, and it's only going to succeed the more of us do stuff.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining me, guys. I wish you both every success in the great work that you're doing.
Thanks, Devin.
All righty. Now let's do some good.